Hey ladies and gentlemen, Keith from iRepair Autos. Today we're going to be doing a Honda Accord brake pad and rotor change, so sit tight as we get this going. Once again, don't forget to subscribe if these videos are helpful. The car is jacked up, the wheel is off. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to turn that wheel outwards to give us better access to the brake caliper, the bolts, and practice safety by using a real jack followed up or backed up with the jack stands. When changing the brake pads, you're going to be using 12mm sockets, and we have them highlighted there. We're also doing a rotor change, so we have the 19mm rotor bolts highlighted as well, and we're going to be removing those in this video. Let's go ahead and remove the 12mm caliper bolts. Two of those, we're going to just loosen them up, and then we're going to remove them by hand to remove the caliper housing. With the bolts removed, we're going to now remove the caliper housing. And while we do that, we are careful not to damage the brake line. We're going to set that off to the side. We also removed the rest of the brake housing. This brake housing is responsible for holding the brake pads, of which we will be installing new ones. And with that, these clips that we'll talk about shortly will be reused in the new pads that we're about to install. Next, using a Phillips screwdriver, we will remove the two Phillips screws that hold the brake rotor in place. Once they've been removed, it's just simply removing the rotor from the hub. Next, we're going to take off the brake pads, and we're going to start by removing the brake pad spacer pins. There's an upper and a lower. Start with the lower one, take that off, and then we're going to take off the upper one. Once we've taken off the upper one, we will then proceed by taking off the brake pad. We're going to start with the one on the left, paying close attention to the spacer bracket at the base on the opposite pad. When we're putting them back together, we need to remember this orientation. There's the bottom brace, and I'm going to take off this pad now, and installation is the reverse. I'm going to start by putting on the brake pad with the brace at the bottom. Then we're going to put on the left pad. We're going to start by putting in the spacer pin on top for the pins, and then we're going to do the same for the base. Next, we'll install the rotor, and once the rotor is on the hub, you make sure you line up those two holes for the Phillips screws that are going to hold it in place, and you screw those down using your Phillips screwdriver. And that's it for the rotor. Pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Make sure you tighten it. Next, we're going to take the brake caliper, and we're going to press the piston back into its housing to accommodate for the new pad spaces that those new pads will take up on the rotors. So using the piston press tool, we turn and push the piston back into position. Of course, we've removed the brake reservoir cap in the hood compartment of the engine to allow free or release of the pressure as we press the brake fluid back into the reservoir. Next, we're going to take the caliper after inserting the brake pads and the brake pad housing onto the rotor. We're going to take the caliper, fit it over those new brake pads, and remember, we're going to connect the 12mm bolts, upper and lower, and we're also going to connect the 19 millimeter bolts, upper and lower. We're going to be tightening the 12 millimeter calipers bolts, and it's highlighted right there, upper and lower. And we're also going to be retightening the 19 millimeter caliper mounting bolts, and they're highlighted right there as well. Let's go ahead and re-tighten the 12 millimeter caliper brake housing caliper bolts. Lastly, at this time, we're gonna put back on the wheel, making sure that we torque down the lug nuts for the tire and the rim properly, and that's the end of this job. And if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. It'll let me know that you appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, send your feedback, your comments, and if there's anything that you'd like to see a video on, drop me a note. Bye.